In this video, we are going to look at how I use the midpoint formula and how I partition a segment. Our essential question is, how do I find the midpoint of a line segment, and how can a line be partitioned, or how can a line segment be partitioned? So we're going to start off with our midpoint formula. We got x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And then for the y-coordinate, so this is just calculating the x-coordinate, and this calculates just the y-coordinate. So this is actually two separate math problems, which is why that comma is there. And then we're going to do y2 plus y1 over 2. So for this first problem, it says find the midpoint of the line segment using the midpoint formula. When we're doing the midpoint formula, we have to look at the endpoints. So I'm going to look at and see, okay, what are the coordinate values? So right here. So this point up here, this is -5, comma 5. And then my coordinate point over here is 1, -2. And with this, in order to be able to use that equation, the x1 and y, or x2 and y2, x1 and x2, y1 and y2, we have to label our points. Which one's going to be point 1 and which one's going to be point 2. So just pick one of them to be 1 and pick one of them to be 2 so we can plug them in to the right place. So we have, we're going to use x1. So in this case, x1, we're going to use the x-coordinate, so that's -5. Plus my x2 number, so the second coordinate, the x value is 1, and I'm going to divide that by 2. And so we've got -5 plus 1 is going to be a -4. And then -4 divided by 2, that is a -2. So what we've just calculated right here is the x-coordinate for the midpoint, the center point of this line segment. Now we're going to calculate the y-coordinate. So we're going to do y1, which is 5. 5 plus y2. y2 is a -2. I'm going to divide that by 2 because that's in the equation. So -5 plus a -2. So that's that's 5 minus 2. So that leaves me with 3. 3 over 2. And 3 divided by 2, you can leave this as a fraction, or if you want to write it as a decimal, you can do that as well. So what we have right here is the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. So on our graph, we're going to go -2 and then up 1.5. So -2 up 1.5. And so that is my midpoint right there. -2, comma 1.5 is my midpoint. And if you notice, this distance is the same as this distance. That should be true because that's my definition of a midpoint, the middle point of a segment. The other thing that would tell you if you're wrong is if this value was not on this line somewhere. So if you had a point that was over here, it's not on the line segment, so that would be incorrect. So you want to check your math back here. Okay, on this next one, we're finding the midpoint again. So I'm going to get my endpoints. This is -4, -3. And then we have over 5 up 2. Now what I want you to do right here, I want you to pause the video and go ahead and calculate this and see if we get the same thing. So pause the video. Okay, so if we take a look here, you should end up with 1/2, comma -1/2. Or you could write it as a decimal, 0.5, comma -0.5. And that is over 0.5, down 0.5. That is right there. And that looks good. Looks to be right about the middle. So the first thing I did was I plugged in my two x values and divided by 2. Then I plugged in my two y values and got -1 and divided by 2. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the back. So this is partitioning a segment. Partitioning means to divide into sections. Sometimes like a bedroom has a partition, so it, you know, blocks one side of the room from the other. Or think about your shower door, or if you have a like shower curtain, like that partitions the shower away from the rest of the bathroom. So a partition is just a fancy word for a divider. So over here I've got A, 2, -4, and over here I have, for point B, I've got 10, 12. And so what it says to do is we are going to divide the segment AB into a 3/5 ratio. So the first thing I want you to do is we're going to turn this ratio 3:5 into a fraction. The ratio 3:5 may be for every, maybe we were working a job, and for every hour I work, I get $3, but every hour you work, you get $5. You get paid 2 more every hour. But the first thing I want to do to partition this segment is I'm going to write this as a fraction. So, in order to turn the ratio 3/5 into a fraction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about, okay, what is my denominator here? If part of something is 3 and the other part is 5, that means that that has been divided into 8 segments. Okay, and so the reason where I get that 8 from is because the 3 plus 5. And so what we're going to do is we're going to divide this into 8 different segments, and from A to B, so 3 segments from A, but 5 segments for B. Should be somewhere right around here. That's what I'm looking for. Where is the exact dot on that? So if I think about, I'm going to close this in and make a right triangle. So if I think about my values right over here, this number and this number, this is, if you look at that, that's 2 right here. My x-coordinate is 2, so this is 2. And then over here, this value down here is 10. And I want to figure out, okay, I want to break that into 8 segments. 2 and 10. What's the difference between 2 and 10? 10 minus 2 is 8. So I could actually count in increments of 1. So let's see. Break this into 8 segments. So in order to break this into 8 segments, first of all, I'm going to cut it in half. And then I can cut that in half again. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, but I need 8. So I'm going to cut that in half again. Okay, so we could think about this as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've broken this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chunks, which is what we need to do. And we want to now do that same thing to the top side. So think about, what is this value up here? That is how many units high? That's 12 units high, so that's a 12. And what is this unit down here? If I think about this number, that's 2 comma -4, so this is a -4. How many pieces do I have between 12 and 4? So that means that from here to here there's 12, and from here to here there's 4. So 4 plus 12, that means that there's 16 spaces over here. 16 numbers. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 16 spaces, and we want to divide those 16 spaces into 8 segments. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we want to go up by 2 to break this line into 8 pieces. So -4, if I go up 2, I'm now at -2. If I go up 2 again, I'm at 0. And then we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've broken it up into 8 segments over here. 1 segment, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And so now that we've broken it up into 8 segments, we need to think about that ratio. 3 to 5 ratio. So I need 3 on one side, or I'm sorry, 3 to 5 ratio. 3 on one side, 5 on the other. That's where I have my 8 pieces from, but I want to draw the line. Where's that 3 and that 5? Where's that 5 come together? So if I think about this, I need 3 over here and 5 over here. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then do the same thing over here, and A is down below. 1, 2, 3. Right here. And if you match these up, this right here is my partitioned point. So I'm going to label this point. This is over 5, comma, this number right here, if we go all the way over, that's 2. 5, comma 2. And to show that it's the partition point, I'm going to name it with a P for partitioned. So my answer is 5, comma 2. So if I think about this segment right here and I split it up into 8 pieces, we've got right here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What we've done is we've created so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, 1, 2, 3 over here. That's where this ratio comes in. This is the magic point. So let's do this one more time. And I'm going to show you, because you'd have to use a graph for this. I'm going to show you how to do this on a little bit more algebraically. So these steps right here are going to get me this value. So I'm going to use these steps for this one down here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to label our points. X1, let's see, we've got our 2 points. We have A is 2, comma 8, and we have B is 7, comma negative 1. So let's do this. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So that's the first thing we're going to do. The next thing we're going to do is convert ratio to the fraction. So the ratio we're going to do on this one is a 2 to 3 ratio. So with my 2 to 3 ratio, what we're going to do is we're going to add these two numbers together. 2 plus 3 is 5. So we want a 2/5 fraction over here. So from A to B, we're going to break this up into 5 chunks, and we're going to go 2 of them over to find our magic point. Step 3, find the rise and the run of the segment. So my rise is going to be y2 minus y1, which we should be able to do this easily because we've already labeled our points. y2 minus y1. So we're going to do y2 minus y1. So that is negative 1 minus 8. Negative 1 minus 8 is going to be negative 9. Okay, and then we're going to do our run. So our run is x2 minus x1. x2 is 7. 7 minus 2. So 7 minus 2 is 5. So now what we're going to do is this number, so this number right here represents how much did we go down right here. So that is where that negative 9 comes from. The 5 comes from how much we had to go over. And you do have to be careful. Notice that this is counting by 2s. So do be careful when you're counting on your graph. So 9 spaces there, 5 spaces there. And so now what we're going to do is kind of this part over here where we break in our ratio. So we're going to break our chunks like this, but we're gonna do it algebraically. So to find the x-coordinate, we're gonna take the x1 and add it to my run times the ratio fraction. And we're gonna do the same thing for the y. So look exactly what it does. X-coordinate. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to do x1, which is 2. Then I'm going to add my run. My run is 5. Then I'm going to multiply it, because that's a times sign, multiply it by the ratio fraction, which is this. So I'm going to times it by 2/5. Okay? And we should be able to type this whole thing in our calculator. So we've got 2 plus 5 times 2 divided by 5, and we get 4. Okay, so this equals 4. What that means is my x-coordinate is going to be a 4. Now my y-coordinate, we're going to do the same thing with my y values. So my y1 is 8. And then my rise is a -9. And we're going to multiply that by our ratio, which is 2/5. And then we're going to see what that equals. So let's type this in our calculator. We're going to do 8 plus -9 times 2/5. And we get 4.4. 4.4. So if we want to think about what is our final answer, our value, our point labeled P for partitioning, it's going to be x comma y. So 4 comma 4.4. So from 0 over 4 up 4.4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 5. So if we look right there, there is our partition. So I'm going to label it P is 4 comma 4.4. Make sure that you summarize your notes down here, and let me know if you have any questions.